Instead for our pledge.
Everyone face the flag, proper hands salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
When the board opens, please record your presence.
Oh, yeah.
For the record, I am here. In body and spirit. Has everyone recorded their presence? Madam Clerk.
17 present, 7 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a quorum. First order is resolution to consider amendments to the Sullivan County zoning plan sponsored by Commissioners Cowton and Commissioner Hayes. Is there any discussion on the zoning resolution before we put it on the board? Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on item number 1. Gardner votes yes. This, we're working on getting me a button here, so I'll be verbalizing my votes until we get that squared away. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
17 yes, 7 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 1 is approved. We will go into recess for the purpose of public hearing on the zoning amendments. If anyone is here for public comment on an amendment, let's allow Mrs. Torbett her information and gather questions from the commission relevant to the amendments, and we'll recognize you from the public on the amendment. Recognize Mrs. Torbett on Amendment 1.
Thank you so much. On your desks are the packets that were emailed to you earlier on. We only have one case to consider. This request is from Gateway Development. It's a partnership of some of our local builders and developers. Their request is to rezone property on Jonesboro Road, 408 Jonesboro Road in Piney Flats, from planned business to R3A. R3A is high density residential for the county. I've highlighted on the aerial map. That is an undeveloped piece of property adjacent to another condo development that one of the partners built about 15 years ago. This request to rezone for R3A has been approved by Jones City Water and Sewer. You can flip this slide, thank you. Again, it's highlighted there in the red arrow. That's the land use plan. That land use plan was before the development next door. I included in the land use plan slide the aerial image of before it was developed. I also included on the zoning plan the Bluff City zoning classification. We do have their data. So it's congruent with the city zoning and the county zoning plan. Next slide. These are pictures of the property. There's an existing home that was subdivided out. Their request is to rezone that particular home R1 for single family so they can sell that off individually. The rest of the land is undeveloped and they would like to do additional condos. The Planning Commission met last month and they're providing a unanimous favorable recommendation to you all on this. We didn't receive any comments and I mailed out letters to everyone, including the condo development next door. So that's all I have.
You've heard the explanation on the amendment. Anyone seek recognition for questions or comments on the amendment? Mrs. Torp, is anyone here from the public that wishes to speak on the amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chance Street, one of the partners, is here if you have any questions for him.
Mr. Street, if you'd like to address the commission, you're more than welcome.
More than happy to,
Thanks, sir.
Chance for Gateway Development. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody's got any.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Mrs. Torp, I'll give you final word on the amendment.
We present this unanimously from the Planning Commission and staff for future housing development.
Without objection, when the board opens, please cast your vote on amendment number 1. Gardner votes yes. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
18 yes, 6 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, the amendment is approved. Ms. Torp, do you have anything you wish to add?
I don't. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That concludes public hearing on the zoning amendments. At this time, I wish to recognize Mayor Venable in the well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Greetings to everyone. It's been a while since I've been here. Pleasure to be with you tonight. I come here tonight let's see if I do. To share some good news with you. I hope that you agree with me. As you know, we've been blessed with great employees in Sullivan County, continue to be blessed, and we try to keep those employees in a place where they can be their very best and contribute to the county in the best way. And I've determined that after 26 years as the Sullivan County planner, Ms. Amber Torbett, as talents that we haven't yet tapped. And so I'm moving Amber into another position, reporting to the deputy to the mayor and the mayor's office, as the entire planning department does. So we're moving Amber into that, and thank her for all the work that she's done in planning and zoning over the years, and how she's brought Sullivan County along from a young lady when she joined us back in 1998. And so happy to announce that. And speaking with Mr. Street, our attorney, looking at the process that the mayor goes through on appointing people in those areas that report directly to him, I am ready to appoint a new county planner, and part of that appointment process is to get the affirmation from the county commission. So I'm happy tonight to share with you that I'm appointing Luke Mead, who has been assistant planner to Ms. Torbett for several years, to the position of planner for Sullivan County. And I recommend him to you highly. I'll tell you a couple of things about Luke. Luke graduated from Sullivan East High School and top of his class. He received a full ride scholarship to Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina, on the track and cross-country scholarship. His bachelor's degree there was in political science. After graduating from Furman, he received a full scholarship to the University of Arkansas, where he did his work on his master's degree. And he also, also at Arkansas, he was a member of the track and field team, and I do believe an All-American. So for Sullivan County boy, that's pretty impressive. He worked at various internships while he was in school, and he's currently studying to take his AICP certification, the American Institute of Certified Planners test. And he's worked with, very closely with Amber for several years. And I've mentioned to Amber that he's about the age that Amber was when she joined Sullivan County. So we expect that Luke will do an outstanding job working with you. And I know he's a good communicator, and I know him in assuming these new duties. I think he's really anxious to work with you and to hear from you on what you like, what you don't like. You're the legislative body, and you can determine. They're the arbiters. You determine what the law is. They help you interpret it and apply it. And I think he's looking forward to doing that with you. So, Mr. Chairman, as Mr. Street tells me that we need that affirmation from the County Commission, and I've made that appointment. So I think a motion would be in order. It requires just purely a motion and a majority vote of those present.
You've heard the recommendation. Does anyone seek recognition for a motion? Mr. Locke? Commissioner Calton? You move to approve. Commissioner Locke moves to approve the recommendation of Mr. Meade, seconded by Commissioner Calton. Is there any discussion on the recommendation of Mr. Meade? Seeing none? Is there any way we can get that on the board, or we can do a roll call vote, whichever one works best for you? Okay. We're gonna put that on the board and do electronic voting. We're in the zoning portion of, this is an advertised meeting where we voted on the zoning resolutions, and that's why we conferred, the mayor apparently conferred with Mr. Street, but Mr. Street, you're more than welcome to address that.
Well, I hadn't thought about that question, about whether this meeting could, the mayor did ask me about how the appointment was done. I didn't consider whether we can do it in a work session or not. I mean, based on previous history, I'd have to say, no, we probably can't. That's my fault. The mayor checked with me, but that never crossed my mind about whether we take action in the work session.
Of course, we've always, it's an official call meeting that's advertised, and we've always had disagreement there. So I would request that the county commission go ahead and vote on it tonight. And it's merely a formality. It's not passing a law or anything of that nature. It's just a formality that the county mayor doesn't appoint his cousin as the planner.
Recognize Commissioner Locke. Your turn on there. Go ahead, Mr.
If
Locke.
this is a work session, how can we be voting on zoning and planning resolutions? The work session hasn't started yet, so this is part of the zoning.
I can address that if you wish. We're currently in the zoning portion of the work session. They called, advertised meeting that we have, and we're still in that vote, that portion of the meeting where we do vote on zoning amendments, and this has been brought to us in that form of the meeting. Recognize Commissioner Glover.
I call for a question. Call for a question, let's vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll have to vote, by calling for the question, we'll have to vote on the call to question. If you wouldn't mind, would you mind to withdraw the call for question, and I'll ask if there's any objection to voting. Okay. Any objection? Commissioner Sullivan.
Yeah, on our regular agenda, we've got a place for appointments, so why aren't we addressing that now versus not having any information to review? Nobody knew this was happening. So appointments are on the regular agenda, not on the work session agenda. That's out of order.
Do you wish to make?
May I answer that?
You're more than welcome to.
The statute specifies, number one, that it is the appointment of the mayor of the county, the elected official. The statute further specifies that the candidate or the appointee cannot be questioned by the commission.
I don't think anybody's asking to question the appointee, and you're right, it's a mayor's appointment. Appointments are done during the regular county commission hearing, as stated on the agendas, every month. So that's when the appointments are heard, it's not on this agenda. It's out of order.
Recognize Commissioner Vanover.
Mr. Chairman, would it be possible to take an unofficial vote tonight pending confirmation next Thursday at a regular work session, at a regular meeting?
Well, at this point in time, we have a motion on the floor, properly seconded.
I withdraw.
That motion is to approve his confirmation, and the other is a motion and a second. Does anyone else seek recognition? When we vote, we're going to be voting on his appointment. Without objection, when the board opens, you got it ready. When the board opens, please cast your vote on the appointment of Mr. Meade. And just before we do it, your name, sir, spelled N-E-A-D? E. N-E-A-D-E. And Gardner votes yes. Has every member voted? Any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk.
18 yes, 1 abstain, 5 absent.
Having received the necessary majority of the votes cast, Mr. Luke Meade is appointed.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Mayor. Mr. Meade, would you like to address the commission, sir?
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't think that's it.
I've asked him if he'd like to, and if he can.
Well, Mr. Meade works for me now, and I say that's not in order. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and thank you, Commission, for your confidence in Mr. Meade, and that, I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think you'll be very pleased with working with Luke to interpret the rules that you adopt, and he'll work with you to change those rules that you've adopted that you don't like. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Venable. Without objection, we're back on the regular calendar. Next order is public comment on agenda-related items, to be followed by public comment on non-agenda related items. Do we have a sign-up sheet? Is there anyone here that wishes to sign up for agenda-related items that didn't get the opportunity to? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to a non-agenda related item? This time I'd like to recognize General Barry Stavas.
Do y'all fall into that category?
I-
If I do, then I'd like to speak.
We've made a place for you, sir.
Oh, yeah, I don't want us to go ahead of my time. I didn't know when I was supposed to be up here.
Well, you're,
I'm up here, so you're gonna let me go?
yes, sir, and General Stavas has some handouts he'd like to pass
I'm
out
gonna
to us.
pass around some handouts about the Family Justice Center, the branch house. Many of you, I think all of you are familiar with it. We're gonna be very brief because we're gonna be back, I think, next Thursday. But what we wanted to do was give you some information to look at between now and next Thursday, and to answer any questions you may have tonight. And I'm going to let Renee Hendricks, who's passing out this, she is the director of the branch house, and she prepared this. And I'm going to say a few opening remarks, and I'm going to let her give you an overview. But obviously, the reason I'm here is we've come here before. The first 3 years the branch house was in existence, We didn't ask for any money, but you all have been good enough to give us money as a nonprofit. I believe that without the branch house, I could not prosecute child abuse cases, nor rape cases, or domestic violence cases. It's that important to what we do, much like the Child Advocacy Center is. It's an essential tool that we have, and they run on a shoestring budget. They do very important work. They're on the cutting edge. They're doing programs that no one else is doing. We were lucky enough to have a facility donated to us. We do get grants, but we also need some assistance, and we've gotten assistance in the past from the county, as I stated, from Kingsport City and Bristol. And so we're counting on some aid to help us do our mission. And there's several things that you can see that in there that might catch your eye. But one of the things is about saving money on homicides. You see the number of reductions in homicides since the branch house came into existence. Now, I can't say for sure that it was the cause, but I have the feeling that it's not a coincidence. And they have a cost there for homicide prosecutions. If you save one homicide, how much it is. But I can tell you from the Boswell case, which you all are familiar with, our office worked diligently on that case. The cost to my office alone, now, the paper reported the cost to the sheriff's department and to Bobby Russell, the clerk's office, but from my own budget, and I'm not talking about salaries, I'm talking about monies from my own budget, it was over $200,000 to prepare that case for trial. That's why I'm a believer in the branch house, because it can save money, and it's an investment. And it's something that almost every developed larger county and smaller counties have across the state. Other jurisdictions pay for buildings and large amounts of money. We're not asking for that. We're asking for a small amount of money. We have our own building. We're lucky that Jim Street donated that building, and we have a lot of innovative programs. And one of the most innovative of all is that we have a private exam room in Bluntville. We also have one that Ballard gave us a room in Johnson City Medical Center, and also one at Holston Valley Hospital, where instead of police officers and people being tied up for hours, they can immediately go in there and get treated for free. If they go into the Ballard system and we don't treat them, those people don't have the money to pay for those, and we end up ultimately paying for them. But we hope to have, and Ballard is committed to giving us a room in Bristol. So right now we have, if you're in the Piney Flats, Bluff City area, you can go to Johnson City Medical Center. If you're in Kingsport, you go to Holston Valley. If you're in the Bluntville, Bristol area, you come to Bluntville. But it's a private setting where we can provide all the services they need to do the exams and collect the evidence that are essential for me to prosecute cases, and for Sheriff Cassidy and the other agencies, law enforcement agencies, to investigate and solve domestic violence cases as well as rape cases, child rape, aggravated rape, sexual battery, aggravated sexual battery. All of those are because the branch house plays an essential point. You also see that we just recently had a sexual trafficking sting, and the branch house was an essential part of that, working with law enforcement to be a hub of that. And so we're working with law enforcement and victims and various groups, counseling groups, all of those contribute together. And the other thing I'll bring to your attention, many of you have heard about the lawsuit in Johnson City. Well, there was a problem there. Women reported sexual assaults and rapes, but they weren't getting to the Family Justice Center, and they weren't getting investigated, and they weren't getting examinations. I will submit to you that would be a very difficult thing to happen in Sullivan County, because on our board of directors is Sheriff Cassidy, Chief Phipps, Chief Austin. They all participate. They're all a part of it. They're all trained. Their officers are trained. And we have meetings where we discuss the cases, and the number of cases reported have increased. The number of cases that we have done exams have increased. There's not cases falling between the cracks that could lead to expensive lawsuits. I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying we prosecute every case, because we don't, because not every case has the evidence to do so. But what I'm saying is that we have an outreach and cooperation between law enforcement, counselors, and my office to make sure that every woman that alleges that she's been a victim of assault, domestic assault, rape, if they're needed to be examined, they're examined. Now, that doesn't mean that every case is charged or every case is true, but it means that every case is analyzed and evaluated and looked at. And that we try to get every case that we can. And that should be something it's important to you all to know. And I'm going to turn it over here and let Renee give you an overview. And again, you all look at these materials, it's a lot to look at. We'll be back Thursday. We'll be glad to talk to you once you review these materials. But if you have questions tonight about anything that catches your eye, I or Mr. Hendricks will be glad to talk to you about it. Thank you.
We
I
thank
don't
you.
want to take up too much time. I'm not going to read through the services. We'll go into more detail next week. But I do want to point out that we have added services. We do every single year. It's incredibly important to us to not stagnate, to continue to grow and expand, and make sure that we are meeting every need that we can for victims in this community. And as General Staub has said, we do run the coordinated response teams. Branch House runs the sexual assault response team, the domestic violence response team, and the coordinated community response team. That's how we work so well together. That's why Branch House was brought in this Tuesday to be the command central for a human trafficking ring bust. And that covered 3 local agencies. There were 2 FBI agents, the TBI was present, and everything was coordinated with and at Branch House because they knew we would be able to provide those necessary services for those victims that they brought in. So we had a crisis intervention specialist on site. We brought in someone from the Coalition Against Human Trafficking. We had 2 SANE nurses on site. We had our sexual assault advocates, so that as soon as the investigators were finished interviewing the victims, we could immediately jump into action and get them safety and whatever resources that they needed. And Branch House is something I'm very proud of, and the community should be really proud of, because we have gained so much recognition nationally and at the state level. We are considered a benchmark program. Other directors are sent to Branch House for training. We are the only hybrid family justice center and sexual assault center in the entire state of Tennessee. We are the only independently funded sexual assault program in the entire state of Tennessee. We have achieved so many wonderful objectives that has brought positive attention to Sullivan County when a lot of the areas around us are receiving negative attention for their lack of response. So I'm really proud of what we do at Branch House, and we are going to continue to serve victims in the community for free and provide them whatever we possibly can to ensure that they achieve safety and justice.
Thank you very
Do
much.
I have any questions?
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week. And I saw someone signed up for public comment. You're up. And before you begin, as something we'll do each month, each speaker is required to state their name and address for the clerk's electronic record. Though this is not question and answer, clarifying questions may be permitted, and no speaker can transfer or yield time to another speaker. And each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes uninterrupted, and is asked to direct all comments to the chair of the body, not the members. At the end of the 3 minutes, I will let you know and ask you to make your final statement. Go ahead, ma'am.
Chairman, may I ask for extra time since I am addressing agenda and non-agenda items?
Is there any objection to giving, forgive your
Ms.
name,
Hunt,
Ms. Hunt, a 5-minute period? And is there any objection? Seeing none, we'll allot you 5 minutes.
my name is Victoria Mills Hunt. I live at 4257 Rockville Road, Bluff City. Agenda items, I would like to address item number 1 because the questions that I brought up last month still have not been addressed. How are you going to do case-by-case basis? Is this going to be a committee, or is it going to be all of you as a lot to figure out who gets this money? who's going to do the research on these nonprofits? Also, the item about the roads, it's kind of hybrid here. I'm glad that Kingsport can have nice roads. What about Timber Ridge? What about Bullock Hollow? What about Broyles Lane? What about Paddle Creek? All these roads are on the east zone of the county. They are in poor condition, and I would like to request somebody address this along with the highway department. Silver Grove Road, kids, I have a traffic report for that. 1,400 a day on Silver Grove Road. And at night, you can't see the lines. And these kids are driving that road in the dark in the mornings. Non-agenda items. I think that I understand that the mayor has the right to appoint people to positions. I also have the opinion that appointments are some of the things that gets this county into the hot water that it's in. I think that if there's going to be a vacancy announcement should be issued. I think applications should be taken, and may the best person get that job. It's an attaboy, it's nepotism, it's something, and it's rampant in this county. And it needs to be addressed. These are my tax dollars. These are people that my money's paying for. These are roads that my tax dollars are supposed to be paying for, but I don't get. This is my tax money that you all may or may not give to nonprofits that you may or may not screen properly. It's my tax dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else seek recognition? Anyone else? Without objection, the public comment portion of the agenda is closed. Next order is review of old business. Recognize Commissioner Harvey on item number 1 under old business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution was created to establish a capped budget of $200,000 to fund selected nonprofits in Sullivan County. This resolution excludes our fire and rescue services, which we currently fund at approximately $4 million annually. The Commission approved $438,000 for selected nonprofits in the 23-24 budget. In the 24-25 budget, the nonprofit budget was cut to approximately $300,000. This resolution in the amount of $200,000 is $100,000 less than last year's budget amount. Therefore, this resolution will cost the county $0 in additional property taxes, since the proposed amount of $200,000 is actually lower than the $300,000 amount spent in last year's budget. Many of the nonprofits which this commission has supported in the past provide valuable support to our local schools, our courts, and our law enforcement. In fact, some of these agencies actually save our local schools money by providing skilled professionals to supply needed services in speech and hearing, specialized counseling services, providing weekend food backpacks for children who are suffering from food insecurity, and in assisting police officers by assisting with investigations and reducing repeated responses in regard to domestic violence calls. If this resolution is approved, a committee will be formed to review all of the nonprofit requests. Currently, that's the administrative committee, and I don't see any reason for that to change. The administrative committee would then bring that to the budget committee. The budget committee would then determine recommendation and bring it before the full commission for approval. Once the capped amount of $200,000 has been reached, there will be no additional nonprofit funding request considered for the respective budget year.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. You've heard the explanation on item number 1. Anyone seek recognition on item number 1? Floor is open for discussion. Commissioner Locke.
Last month, we were up here, we were discussing these nonprofits and the request forms to be sent out. So if we're gonna follow through, can we go ahead and submit those out to the nonprofits, Larry?
That's the wish of this body.
Well, she just stated right here that the administrative committee will be hearing these nonprofit requests. I think I said last month that these need to go ahead and be sent out. It's not been done yet. We're here at April 10th. We got a budget to pass. We need to be hearing, and if we're gonna be meeting, we need to have meetings and hear these requests for this money to be appropriated to the budget committee. So if we can, submit that out. If Glover's still the chair, whoever the chair is, she's not here tonight. So, of the administrative committee, that needs to go ahead before we get behind the 8 ball to those nonprofits.
Anyone else seek recognition? Commissioner Glover.
Glover got fired from the administrative committee chairman. I'm no longer the chairman. I got fired. I got terminated. But I hear things about the request. That's the same thing we've done last year. We listened to the request. We made our recommendations. They went to the budget committee. The budget committee made their recommendations, and it was done. So we're going to go through the same process again. And last year, when we did those cuts, and one of the cuts we done was libraries. And I was going to wait till next week to talk about this, but I don't think I will. I think we'll go ahead right now. Our local library in Bristol, which we gave, I can't remember, I think it was maybe $25,000 to this past year from nonprofits. LGBT teens, LGBTQ group for ages of 11 through 18, Bristol Public Library Teen Space. Thursday, March 13th. Blanket forts and mug cakes, Tuesday, March 25th from 6 to 7:30. LGBTQ teens and allies are invited to come socialize, learn, and have fun. We'll be meeting for a discussion group March 13th, so feel free to bring topics you'd like to discuss on March 25th. We will build cozy places to hang out using blankets, pillows, furniture, and more, and then we'll be making treats in mugs to enjoy. That's the first one. The second one, Cook and Book Group. Bristol Public Library Teen Space. Same ages. Thursday, March 13th, 4 to 5:30. Avoca Branch Library, Monday, March 17th, 4 to 5:30. We're going to be reading a book called The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich, about a lady that dresses up like a man and then falls in love with the princess.
Commissioner Glover, if we could tie this into the
that's where
resolution.
Money's going. That's where money's going with the nonprofits. And when you vote on these nonprofits and you give these folks this money, you can't take it back. And that's where I'm going with this. So, I mean, that's fine.
Commissioner Harvey, then Commissioner Locke. Recognize the sponsor, then Commissioner Locke. I had you, I'd like to ask the sponsors leave their mics on. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chairman. This resolution sets a set amount of $200,000, a capped amount. That amount, if we approve that, to say that there will be selected nonprofits. In other words, there's less money here, and the administrative committee and the budget committee and the full commission will use their discretion based on what is presented to them, whether they approve that or not. That will depend on how this full commission looks at each of these nonprofit requests and makes a decision, yes or no, and how much they want to support it for. There are numerous nonprofits we're going to be looking at. We've already heard from Second Harvest, we've heard from Branch House. There's a lot of very legitimate nonprofits that have documentation that show not only how this contributes to the health of our community and assists with many of our essential services in Sullivan County, but how we actually save money because of the things that they're doing. So I hope and I believe that it's an insult to these commissioners to think that we're going to not consider the legitimate requests that we have and make those recommendations. This is just an up or down vote on saying we believe there is value in many of the nonprofits. We want to have a budget, and each year the administrative committee will look at all of those, evaluate those, make recommendations, send it to the budget committee. The budget committee will then make a recommendation to the full commission. So all of that will be analyzed, evaluated, and approved through the full commission.
Commissioner Locke.
I ask you to amend the resolution, go ahead and upon passage, have Larry Bailey's office send out request forms to nonprofits so we get those request forms back in and evaluate them, pass them to the budget committee, since they haven't been done yet.
Are you waiting for a response? You recognize Commissioner Hardy.
So let me read this. So allocations from the new account will be considered on a case-by-case basis by the Sullivan County Commission, and consideration of requests for funding will take place only after the completion and approval of each fiscal budget year and or after July 1st of the calendar year in which the fiscal year begins, whichever last occurs. So this is really just to set the budget amount for $200,000.
We would amend the resolution, go ahead and send the request forms out to nonprofit agencies. If it's upon passage tonight, through Larry Bailey's office.
Next Thursday.
We'll get to that part.
We amend the resolution for next Thursday, so if we vote on it upon passage, he sends that out to the nonprofit organizations.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Callan.
Had taken my name out because I was going to say several things that Commissioner Harvey had said.
Okay. Recognize Commissioner Harvey for final word on the resolution.
This will be a second reading, so it will be voted on next week.
Commissioner Harvey moves item number 1 to next week's regular calendar. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Iverson, item number 2 under old business.
Thank you, Chairman. This is, we spoke about it last month, and just go over it a little bit more, but that's, the judges came to us last budget cycle and said that there was they admit there were some mistakes made. They messed up some accounting as far as their, the pay of their administrative staff. It fixes 6 different courts, 7 people, I believe, with the numbers. They came before the executive committee, and there was a big number that they came out of the executive committee, which was approved with the budget committee. And with all the things going on with the school system, and the budget was just chaotic there at one point, it got set aside. Just like to go back now and fix that. And it's a grand total of $29,000, but that's what it's gonna be next year. We'll change the amount what it's actually gonna be this year. It's a lot lower. It's around $7,000. I'll get the exact number from Mr. Bailey. He may have, you have it with you today?
This whole year, for a whole annual year, will be $29,000.
Right. So, but it's only gonna be 3 years in this current budget, so it's only gonna be a much smaller number.
Year would only be like 2 months, 3 months.
Okay.
Less, whatever.
Okay, so if we change it or not, that's the amount that's gonna be actually used $29,543 or 44 is what it will be from this point on, but this year it's a much smaller number. We asked him if we should wait till the budget cycle, and he said he'd prefer to get it done now, so we're bringing it forward now. And again, it's $29,000 if anyone has any questions.
You've heard the explanation on item number 2. Anyone seek recognition on item number 2? Floor is open for discussion. Commissioner Iverson?
We'll vote next week.
Sponsor moves item number 2 to our regular calendar next week. That brings us to the end of old business. Recognize under new business, Commissioner Iverson on item number 3.
Last week I said something about it, said something in the budget committee, and our highway department, we all know what a fantastic job they do in so many different ways, but one of the things that they did last year was they had a, I think it's called a slant mower, but it's a mower that they had that they no longer needed, and it was a piece of equipment that they were no longer needing, and the school department needed it. So basically, it was something they were getting rid of, and it was better than anything the school department had. So he gave it to them, and I thought it was fantastic. I appreciate the way he did that. Found out he's got another thing that he's wanting to do now, and I'm honored to be able to sit here and say this, but what he's done is he's got another truck that, again, he's getting rid of, and Bluff City Department of Public Works wants it, needs it, and it's better than what they have. So he's wanting to transfer that truck to them. It's a 2003 Chevy 3500, and 195,000 miles, but again, it's going to be a treasure to them, and he's wanting to transfer that, so that's what it is.
You've heard the explanation on item number 3. The floor is open for discussion. Recognize Commissioner Glover on item number 3.
Mark, which district do you represent?
Yes, sir, I know what you're saying. I represent the west side, this is the east side. But they asked me if I would do it, and I said, absolutely yes.
I'm sure you did. It's ever my thing.
I don't know what that means, but I guess what you're saying. I don't know.
Anyone else seek recognition? Commissioner Iverson.
I'd like to put on consent, and anyone that goes for it would be on as a co-sponsor.
Sponsor moves consent calendar for item number 3. Is there any objection to item number 3 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 3 is placed on consent calendar. Without objection, I'm going to recognize Commissioner Jones on item number 4. Sponsor is Commissioner Aker to recognize Commissioner Jones in his absence. That's okay.
This is a resolution to amend the 24-25 budget to purchase, for the purchasing in the amount of $39,670, a new forklift. Purchasing department is just worn out, and it allows the county buildings and the EMS garage to use the same to base their needs. Whereas because we've moved our facilities, it's no longer feasible to have that shared across the parking lot. And so they've asked for this new forklift. They need it. They get the pallets that are coming in are bigger and larger than what we have in the past. And to get those unloaded into the building, finance building, they're asking for this new forklift. We moved waiver rules on it. I don't know any other details on what's in the resolution, but they need it.
You've heard the explanation on item number 4. The floor is open for discussion. Anyone seek recognition on item number 4? Commissioner Jones will be moving waiver of rules on item number 4 at next week's regularly scheduled meetings. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Harvey on item number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I go into this resolution, I did want to make a comment that in looking at the nonprofits, there are a number of those who probably could be moved to other places and not be under the nonprofit budget. In fact, the mayor actually mentioned the library, Imagination Library, and these could go under our library budget. So those are considerations. This resolution establishes a policy that future funding to support selected Sullivan County parks and museums shall come from occupancy tax revenues and not from the county's nonprofit budget, thus removing a funding burden from local taxpayers. Parks and museums requesting this funding in the future will need to align with the eligibility guidelines as defined by the state comptroller's criteria for the legal use of lodging tax dollars to promote and support tourism in Tennessee. Prior to the state's creation of this new funding source, Sullivan County parks, including Bays Mountain Park, Steel Creek Park, as well as a number of local museums, were funded through the county's nonprofit budget. The amount of money that Sullivan County budgeted last year to support these local parks and museums was approximately $100,000. Because the use of the occupancy tax dollars is new to the county, this resolution only proposes to move these tourism-related funding requests out of the nonprofit budget and place them in the future for consideration and evaluation by the county's assigned designee responsible for managing the county's tourism dollars. And I think that's something that hasn't been defined yet. It's still up in the air. So this is all new to us, and it's evolving as we go. But I have checked with CTAS on this, and also Rick Hall is looking into this, and he's also consulting with an attorney. He was not able to get back to me today, but I will have information on that next week.
You've heard the explanation on item number 5. Anyone seek recognition on item number 5? Commissioner Vanover and Commissioner Slater. Commissioner Vanover.
Commissioner Harvey, I'm glad you put the part in there about requiring the museums and parks to align with the requirements of the state of Tennessee. But how are we going to assure that they do that? So I'm glad you put the part in about make sure they align with the requirements for the use of that occupancy tax, but how are we going to ensure that they do that?
Oh, well, I think that's what that's why I put it in there, that we have to check with the attorneys. I think at this point, there's no specific guidelines that I know of. That's why I called to check on it. So I think we would have to check to make sure that we're following those.
Is there going to be any requirements for them to follow up and show that they used it in the proper way to keep us out of trouble?
I don't know. Do you know that? Because you're working on this
I would definitely like to see something in the resolution that said they're required to do A, B, and C to meet the requirements and show that they've met the requirements to meet our obligations, because we're the ones that collect it, so we're the ones going to be held accountable if it's misused.
That's what I've asked for. I've asked for an attorney to respond.
The only other thing, Mr. Johnson is our tourism director, and I'd like to see what his thoughts are on using some of the money for those projects.
Mr. Johnson, if you're willing, you can make your way to front.
Always willing. Able's another question, but thank you, Commissioner, for the question. Thank you for the response for bringing this forward. It's one of those challenges. I don't like getting in between and weighing in on resolutions. That's the business of this body, and y'all do that very well. One of the things we talked about was, when it comes to the lodging tax, I mean, obviously, and there's no way to answer this without getting in the middle of some of this. Philosophically, I agree with you. You're trying to save the general fund. That makes sense to me. It makes perfectly good sense, right? But the other side of it is where I would fall is probably where most of the other tourism directors are falling, that, is this the best use of the funds, things of that nature. When I look at, again, we've talked about the funds are all together, right? I mean, I know Mr. Akers mentioned that, and we should look at them as a collective. But, if we're pulling from one side or the other, which it appears we'd be pulling from, obviously, the county side, it's something I mentioned that I wouldn't prefer. So to answer directly, I would not prefer the funds to come from the tourism lodging tax, if that was your question.
Yes, sir, that's my question, thank you.
Recognize Commissioner King.
Thank you. Last year when we did the budget and we was going through the nonprofits, the mayor of Bluff City sent notice to us that he did not want the money from the nonprofits to go to Bluff City. He declined to accept that. And he did that on his own will without any knowledge of the Board of Aldermen who, as we found out later, strongly objected to what he did. And if this goes through, we've always given Bluff City, except last year we didn't. But we've done that for several years, and I'd like to restore Bluff City back into that. They're using the money, or they have been using the money for the Little League ball fields, and this year they've got somewhere between 500 to 700 kids playing down there this year, and it can be used very well there. And I'd just like to ask if this goes through, that Bluff City would be considered again and maybe put back into the part of it where they can get the money. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Commissioner Ward.
What group of attorneys are we talking about? You mentioned attorneys. Do we have a group of attorneys, or we gonna let the county attorney? There's actually one here tonight. If we-
Contacted the CTAS, and they are, Rick Hall's talking to the attorney. I don't know if it's the comptroller's attorney, or I know it's the state of Tennessee.
Dan, I don't mean to throw you under the bus or put you on the spot or anything, but I don't see any other attorneys in here other than you, so since you take care of the county, you care to comment on this?
Well, if the question is whether or not these expenditures will fit with the guidelines, I will be more than happy to try to come up with what the statutes say the guidelines are now. As far as what the state treasurer says, you know, I guess I could ask him, but other than that, let me do that. Let me see what the state statutes say, and I'll get that back to you.
It seems to me that this occupancy tax just seems to be the catch-all for everything here lately. I mean, it's just, I mean, eventually, I'm not sure there's how much money's in that fund. It's unknown, and we keep seeing resolutions come about. Let's take it out of this one, let's take it out of this one. I'm not sure it's all gonna be there.
I don't believe that fund is unknown. Approximately $500,000 went to NETA, and another $500,000 went to Sullivan County. It's about $500,000 for each, and that was based on last year's, and it's earning and accumulating every month going forward. So it'll be another $1 million that's going to come up the next time. And my understanding was that we would require NETA to come back and share with this commission how that money is being used, and if it is indeed producing $30 for every dollar that they were given in economic development. So I think this commission deserves to have that information so we know how it's being used, and if that's something that we want to continue to do.
Commissioner Stidham.
The question was brought up about the funding and the expenditures being used correctly. That funding goes to the city of Kingsport and Bristol and Bluff City. That money goes through the city manager's office. They already deal with this type money, dealing with what they have for that. So I'm pretty sure that we have 3 competent city managers in Kingsport and Bristol that was sure the expenditures would fall under the state guidelines. I don't think we have truly a question we have to worry about that part of it. It's just a matter of where the funding's gonna come off the top or come out of the Sullivan County side. That's really the question, where you want the funding to come from.
Commissioner Cowden.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner King, could we make a resolution for the Bluff City Park and add it back if they voted?
Well, that would be something we'd have to do at another time. If that's something you wish to do, that's something we can do at another time, as far as a separate resolution.
Okay.
Or unless that would have to go before their council first.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you could make a resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This question for the sponsor, as far as, I was rereading this real quick before I asked. Adopts a policy that any future county funding for local parks and or museums shall come from the occupancy tax revenues. I mean, as you just mentioned, there's roughly 500,000 on the county side, 500,000 went to NETA, roughly. I mean, is there gonna be any sort of limit to what those parks can ask for, or how many parks can come in on this, how many museums? I mean, can I open a museum in my yard and make sure I can get funded for that? I mean, these are questions I'm not trying to, I'm honestly trying to say, where is the limit gonna be on that? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's a good question, and I said this whole thing is evolving. And so, right now, Matthew has a budget of $500,000. I'm not exactly sure how that's being managed. So this would fall under, if we didn't have the resolution as it is, where it's split out, then the question is whether it should come off the top, just like what happened with the airport, because money came out for that resolution out of the occupancy tax dollars. So whether it comes off the top, or does it go to Matthew, and he makes a recommendation to the commission. So somebody has to be managing that on both ends, and NETA, it's Alicia. And it's interesting, because I'll speak to the fact that I went to the Republican of Kingsport meeting on Monday, and NETA was speaking, and the question was asked, what are the top 3 tourist attractions in Sullivan County? Number 1, the Bristol Motor Speedway. Number 2, Holston, South Holston, where there's the lake and the river. And number 3 is the Country Music Museum, Birthplace of Country Music Museum of Bristol. Those are the 3 top ones. So that's one of the museums that we've been funding. And it's bringing in incredible money into this county. These 3 are bringing an incredible amount of money. So to think about not supporting that in some way, and if we don't have them in the nonprofits, then this is a way to support those museums.
Commissioner Cross.
I had a follow-up, sorry.
You're good.
I do feel more comfortable, I don't see it written in here, but I would feel more comfortable if it was Sullivan County's slice of that money, that you did say that, you know, Matthew might make a recommendation or something like that. Now, I understand that, but I don't see it written in here, so that might make me more comfortable if he had that control to recommend or to say this is not something we might not want to fund in that resolution. That's my follow-up. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
It's been interesting following the discussion going on. First of all, to be a nonprofit, you gotta have it's gotta be issued out as a 501c3, and you hopefully have been diligent in filing that, not just saying that you are. And we can follow it, and in that filing, it tells what they are going to be doing. But anyway, and we're talking $1 million here and $1 million there. Has anybody asked the finance director how much we expect to receive this year, what he has estimated? I did yesterday, and I would prefer him to, I don't want to quote him, I'd let the finance director say that. If he would, I would appreciate it, what he estimates we will bring in this year.
Well, a conservative estimate would be $710,000. That's for the 12 months. I believe the amounts we've been talking about tonight included a little more than 12 months back there, why they're as large as they are.
And if I remember correctly, that resolution that was voted on in here for NETA was 500,000, and then 25%, was it 25% or 250,000 every quarter? 250 every quarter. Well, where are you getting that money? You've already committed. Better find out where the money is and how much you're going to have. We may have to go back and revisit that resolution. Thank you.
Commissioner Harvey. Give the final word on your resolution.
Yes, I'm going to put this on first reading next week.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Sponsor moves item number 5, first reading on next week's regularly scheduled calendar. Without objection, recognize Commissioner Vanover on item number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 6 comes from our school department. It's a resolution to approve an expenditure appropriation from the Sullivan County Board of Education General Fund from their undesignated fund balance for the purchase and installation of a cooling tower at Emmett Elementary School. The school board approved expenditure from their undesignated fund balance of up to $275,000 for this project. Therefore, be it further resolved, the County Commission of Sullivan County assembled a regular session hereby authorizes the allocation of funds for the Sullivan County Board of Education undesignated fund balance to the general purpose school budget in the amount of $275,000 for the purchase and installation of the cooling tower at Emmett Elementary School. Mr. Carter tells me that the cooling tower there is being held together with duct tape and baling wire and could fail at any time. Most of it has failed, and they're having to run water into it manually to keep it cool. It leaks. This is pretty close to being an emergency. If it was to go down totally, the children won't have any air conditioning this spring when it gets a little bit warmer. So we'd like to get this done as quick as possible, and since there's no new money coming, I'd like to ask for it to be on the consent calendar.
You've heard the explanation on item number 6. The floor is open for discussion. The sponsor moves consent calendar on item number 6. Is there any objection to item number 6 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 6 is placed on the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Recognize Commissioner Vanover on item number 7.
Item 7 also comes from our school department. It's a resolution to recognize revision 2 of the 25 Innovative School Models Grant Funds in the General Purpose School Fund. They get these grants and they had to re-itemize a little bit of it to put it in different categories. As you can see, the first one, 71100722717 it's been put into that description out of the one below it. I think this is for some renovations at Central Middle School. They're renovating a classroom. The other is some renovations at East High School. So it's grant, free money from the state. They're just having to reallocate where they put it in their budget. So I'd also like to ask for this to be on the consent calendar, if there's no objection.
You've heard the explanation on item number 7. The floor is open for discussion. Sponsor moves consent calendar for item number 7. Is there any objection? Item number 7 being placed on consent. Without objection, item number 7 is placed on consent. Recognize item number 8, Commissioner Iverson.
This is coming from the Highway Department. Sullivan County Highway Department and Kingsport Highway Department work a lot in conjunction on things. We're talking Commissioner Murray, he says that a lot of times, especially in the wintertime, they go scraping roads. There's a lot of the neighborhoods that are county and city combined. Some of the roads are city, or just a portion will be city. And at times, if it's scraping the road, whoever gets there first will do the whole road. And he said a lot of times, this is not the first time they've done this, but it just makes it easier for one of the departments to pave the entire road just because of its city, county, they'll just do the whole thing, one thing, instead of having patchwork as they go. So this is not unusual, he's done it before, the city has agreed to pay him back. The cost is $56,806.74. It's not asking for new money, it's gonna be something that he's gonna pay out of his budget, and they're gonna reimburse him for it and go right back into his budget, so. If there's any questions, I'll answer those. If not, I'll ask if you put this on consent, because it's not costing us money, it's just gonna be a reimbursement, kind of flow through.
You've heard the explanation on item number 8. The floor is open for discussion. The sponsor moves consent calendar for item number 8. Is there any objection to item number 8 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 8 is placed on consent calendar. Recognize Commissioner Pierce on item number 9. Excuse me, my actual physical paperwork says, that does too. Okay, excuse me. Commissioner Ward. I get you and Archie mixed up a lot.
A lot of similarities there, a lot of
From a
similarities.
distance, I mean, it's,
He's a little bit taller than I am. We talked about this last month, and it was approved to use opiate money for Sheriff's Department pretrial fund. I'm assuming this resolution is to tidy up how the funds are moved from one account to the other. I would ask the question, since it's not new money and it's already been approved and we're just approving the transfer of the funds, can we put this on consent? Not that anybody's paying attention to me.
we've got a lot going on right here, actually.
Would you like me to re-ask that question, sir?
No, you've heard the explanation on item number 9. The floor is open for discussion. Anyone have any questions for the sponsor? Commissioner Locke.
The question was, can this be moved to consent, since it's no new money?
Is there any objection to item number 9 being placed on consent calendar? Without objection, item number 9 is placed on consent calendar. That takes us to the end of our...
Adjourn.
Takes us to the end of our resolution calendar. Do we have any announcements? I actually have one I'd like to make. This past Friday, I had the privilege of sitting in this commission room and observe our own Commissioner Andrew Cross, or he's Mr. Cross, to the group that we had the privilege of coming to see. And were they all seniors, Commissioner Cross? The majority of them were seniors. His American government class came and they did a mock resolution. They had $5 million to spend, and they sat at your desk and they went through the discussion and the voting process. And I actually had a question that I had for them, if this is something that they would like to participate in on a more regular basis, because I've actually talked to the principal at Westridge and Commissioner Cross about having students in the upcoming school year, those that are part of certain groups, that they'd like to participate in and get a more upfront and personal view of what it is we do, a real world experience of local government. And it was met with a very positive response. And there were several of the young men and women said that it was something they'd like to come back and do. And I'll recognize Commissioner Cross.
When he asked that question, they could answer honestly because they're seniors. They don't have to be roped in anything next year. They said, yes, they would have absolutely done this had it been opportunity to them. My one junior said he would love to do it right now. They were very excited to be a part in some form or fashion of a meeting of ours. So it was met very positively from students to come and be a part of this. So we'll just keep working on that and figure out a way next school year to get that started. And I also wanted to take a moment and apologize for my tardiness to the commission. My son had a spring program, and as soon as he was done doing his little singing, I came up here, but that's why I was running a bit late, so I apologize.
I don't blame you a bit, brother. And before we close, on the consent calendar, we have items 4, 6, 7, and 9. Did I miss anybody's? 3, 6, 7, 8, 4 as well. And did I miss anyone's? Okay. Anyone seek recognition? Anyone have a motion they wish to make? All those in favor of adjournment say aye. Aye. Adjourn Thursday night. Thank you all.